this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no
a
one.
second.
Oh, no.
We return to our planet. The High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Well, greetings out there for another vlogcast episode. Really, it's more of our what we watched episode, but it is a vlogcast in a lot of ways. I thought about this, like, why do we need to put it on the big on the more expensive camera? I can just film this with the microphone because we're just
Film
talking.
it with the microphone, huh?
Yeah, you know.
All right.
We're just talking about this stuff anyway. But let's talk about what we watched in May. We're running a little bit late, but we're still in June, so we're still doing that. So, I've watched, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, well, 13, I'm not going to count the Inside Movies Galore's ones, 14, 15, that wouldn't count because we covered that, 16, and 17 total items. How many items do you say you've got on yours?
That's probably about how many I've got if you do count the movies galore and anime anticlimax ones, but
well, let's go ahead.
We can go ahead and mention those. It was, of course, Ron's month, and we covered Liar Liar, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Braveheart, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Rock of Ages, The Waterboy, and The Wolfman, the 2010 version. That was all of them, right?
Yep, that was it.
Yep.
And yeah,
of course we hit Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei on this channel. So definitely tune into all of those discussions. You'll get to hear a lot of stuff.
It was fun. I really enjoyed revisiting Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei.
Yes.
Again, you got to hear some good, and you had to hear some people who were not so happy with it, but you know, it was still good overall. I think everybody kind of liked it overall.
And we will reiterate what I believe was brought up in the discussion, but should there be anyone watching us affiliated with Right Stuff or Nozomi Entertainment or any of those, when are you going to put out the rest of the series?
Well, they just put out the one.
I know. But no. But seriously, though, we would very much like to see the rest of the series come out.
I will continue to buy them. And I love having the booklet with it.
Yeah, the booklet was cool.
Very informative.
I never did finish that booklet. I started it.
I need to get in and just go through it.
Yeah.
Well, why don't I start out? Actually, this is last month. I just started trailing off with dates and like, screw it. And the first one, it looks like the Barf Man, but it's actually the Batman. I started off May watching. I got the I've got the Steelbook, but that's not how I watched it. I watched it when it premiered on HBO. And it's pretty cool. I mean, this is a movie, it's a kind of a Batman noir. And it is rare that they go into the detective side of Batman. They usually play with it, but I don't think any of the movies really dove into the detective side like this one did. I do agree with I want to say it was Nostalgia Critic covered this. His take on the Riddler.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the costume was silly and was unnecessary, and that by not seeing his face, you lose a lot of the emoting that he does as an actor. When he's without the mask, the acting is indeed a lot stronger. You can tell, and I'm sure that if he didn't have the mask on, he would have felt more intense. Like if he had just had like the little face mask or something around, he would have been much more. You could have seen much more of an intense performance. I thought it was still very well done. I did not like this version of Bruce Wayne. Did not like emo. I don't care. I'm squandering my money. Bruce Wayne was basically Edward Bruce Wayne, which I am glad that he wasn't like Edward Batman, but he did a great job as Batman. But I did not like his Bruce Wayne. But it was okay overall. I mean, I thought it was a great thing. I disagree with Nostalgia Critic on the ending. I didn't mind the ending. I didn't really feel the 3-hour runtime, though it is hard to find a 3-hour chunk to watch again.
Yes.
And what are your thoughts? I mean, you watched that you watched it when it was in theaters.
No, I never got to. I wanted to.
Well, I didn't put any major spoilers in there, so nothing that you haven't probably already seen in pictures.
Oh,
anyway.
no, I mean, I did see it, but I didn't see it in theaters.
Oh.
And actually, I don't know how, but I did not have it in my notes. So
did you see it this month?
I don't remember. I don't remember if it was May or June. So I'm going to go ahead and claim May, and that way I can just throw in my 2 cents and move on. Because, yeah, we'll do that. Because the Batman was a pretty solid film. It's actually my top film of the year so far, but, I've only seen 5 films, so, take that for what it's worth. I did think that the detective aspect was really nice. It was a different look to it, a different aspect to it. I don't think that... I give Robert Pattinson a little more credit than a lot of people do. I don't give him as much credit as some people do. There is an Edward vibe to this Batman, but it's not a strong one, I think. But
it's more in the Bruce Wayne than the.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Yeah. Like, even as Bruce Wayne, like, I don't think he was bad, but I've seen better. I've seen much better. He was probably the weakest Bruce Wayne I've seen, but that doesn't mean it was a bad version. It just And Paul Dano was brilliant as Riddler, but I agree, he was much more effective when he was unmasked.
That last scene when he's sitting there in Arkham, I thought that was great. He almost came across as creepy with the other character that they put in. That I also agree with Nostalgia Critic's take on it. I'm not going to spoil the movie for it, but I forgot about the other ones. I'll let you cover Catwoman because I know that you like Catwoman as a character a lot more than I do.
You're talking about the other Arkham inmate. Yeah.
And but I love the performance of the Penguin. I had forgotten about that. He was also really good.
Colin Farrell was very un-Colin Farrell. Yes. And he played Penguin really as a hardened gangster, which is not an inappropriate way to play the Penguin. But I did feel the character was slightly underused. The one I was most impressed by and intrigued by was John Turturro's Carmine Falcone. He was great. He underplayed that. Turturro is one of those people like Nick Cage or Al Pacino who tends to go big.
Yeah.
But every now and then he dials it back. And he dialed it back. I still think John Doman in Gotham is the best Falcone I've seen. But I really love Turturro's version. And I thought it was a good, solid... I like Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, but... Again, I'm going to draw some flack for this. I'm not the biggest fan of taking established characters and insisting on blind casting, because especially with comic book characters, there are expectations for the character. But having her as Catwoman and having Jeffrey Wright as Gordon is made possible and made good by the fact that they're both freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright in particular is a brilliant actor, and he did a good job as Gordon. And I loved Andy Serkis as Alfred. I loved him as Alfred.
Though I wasn't as impressed with the Catwoman outfit that they gave her.
They were trying to go with the idea. I read the idea that she is a scrappy cat burglar who is just starting out. She's not rich. She's not wealthy.
Yeah.
She's not going to have a tailor-made outfit. So it makes sense to give her that, but I will admit it was not a very sleek outfit.
They could have done a better mask, if anything.
Yeah.
But still, it was a good one. I really think that this one has a lot of Long Halloween elements to it.
Still need to see that.
And I feel like, they could do the Long Halloween story as the next Batman arc.
Actually, you know what? I think I read they want to.
Because they set up the background.
Yeah.
They set it up in the background. That Falcone stuff they set up really does fit in. And they could do a flash forward to the future. You could have emo Bruce be grown-up emo Bruce. And, they could do a flash to the future.
So he's gone from emo Bruce to death metal Bruce?
Yeah, there you go.
But another thing as well, and then we'll move on to the next. Yeah. But I've said all along, I'm fascinated by the idea that they basically took the cast of characters from season 1 of Gotham and transferred it to this movie.
Yeah.
The Gotham original Fish Mooney has been left out, and Salvatore Maroni is he's a ghost behind the action, if you will. But everyone else, they pretty much took the same cast, but totally different actors and portrayals of almost all the characters. All the characters are very different portrayals. And I thought it was really interesting that they did that and that they made 2 totally different products from the same characters. And it's one of the reasons, I've said before, one of the reasons I like the Batman stories so much is because they are such Shakespearean characters. They can, what I said before, like you have certain expectations about characters and you want to see them live up to them. But with the Batman characters more than most, you can play around and still, as it were, stay true to the character. You know what I mean? So,
most definitely. I was thinking to myself, they're not seeing these visuals. Why do I need the ring light on?
That's a good question, yeah.
Let's see. And you said that you had you still have less than I do on here.
Yeah.
So I'll hit 2 more.
Go for it.
Move. I watched Spiral finally. I guess it's weird. I have not seen the last entry of the original Saw thing. What was the last entry of Saw?
Was that Jigsaw?
Jigsaw. I have not seen Jigsaw, but I did see Spiral, the Chris Rock throne. I think that the next one will also have them have like a Fall from That Universe. It was really good. I really did enjoy it. Having Chris Rock as the officer, and it talks about, it really has a good message about dirty cops and them stepping up for one another and covering for each other. It really did go, and it has flashes of less fair Jigsaw, like one of the copycats that kind of like makes the death traps, and you're going to die no matter what. Which did earn the ire of the original Jigsaw when that happened. So I'm curious as to how that's going to play out later on in the franchise. It was pretty cool. It was predictable, which, that happens with Saw movies. But it was still fun, and still some imaginative traps. I enjoyed it overall.
Cool.
I did watch a series that you may have already watched this month too, Moon Knight.
That's the next one on my list.
So hey, we've got that covered. So Moon Knight is essentially about, spoiler warning, I'm not going to go too far into it, but it's about this dude who ends up having these little blanks in his day, and he doesn't know why. And
it's Stephen Wright, right?
yeah,
And
it
Mark
gets
Spector.
worse
Yeah.
as goes on, and you realize that there are multiple personalities going on. That's the big spoiler. Even though you really get to it by like episode 2 at the
Well, those
latest.
two you see right away.
Yeah.
Like Stephen is basically a museum security, or no, he works in the gift shop.
Yeah, he works in the gift
He works
shop.
in the gift shop.
He wants to be
He wants,
archaeologist.
and he wants to be an archaeologist. He's got this really interesting British accent, and Mark Spector is an American assassin who is very down to business,
Yeah.
cold-blooded, does what he needs to do. And they both happen to share the same body, which is played by Oscar Isaac. And Oscar Isaac, I think, had a lot of fun with the role.
Oh, it was it was really good. Wasn't there some sort of controversy that happened with him or somebody in the series that made Moon Knight not? Did he die? Who died? Somebody died. I felt.
Oh, the guy that shows up, I think, in the 3rd or 4th episode, who's like the collector that. I can't remember his name in the series, but he's played by Gaspard Ullier, and he died in a ski accident before the show even aired.
Yeah.
So I think he may have been scheduled to come back, but they're not going to be able to.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting stuff. There are some interesting blind casting choices that. I say blind casting, but I really do feel like it's intentional casting. Choices.
I believe the woman who plays his wife is Egyptian, if I remember correctly. And
there was some controversy over that character, but I can't remember what it was. But I don't know. I don't know the stuff well enough, so it didn't bother me.
Right.
Oh, she's just playing with the cap. But it was fun. It was good enough. The problem is a lot of these Marvel series are good. I don't know. Maybe you don't get this, but to me, I've got like Marvel burnout because there's too much. It's like, okay, this series, that series. I still haven't gotten onto the Netflix stuff or the Hulu stuff or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I need to get back. And my brothers right now are going through the Netflix stuff, and I told them, I'm like, when you guys get to Jessica Jones, I want to watch it this time. And of course, they just kept on watching. They've gone through Daredevil, they've gone through Luke Cage, they're working on Jessica Jones now. I have seen large portions of each series, but I have not gotten to...
I really need to see the rest of them because even the Hulu stuff might... Well, the Mordo series, I think, connects, but only in a comedy way. But the Hulu stuff might...
You mean the MODOK?
MODOK, yeah. But I think, Hulu's got a couple of series. I mean, they got the Cloak... Who got the Cloak and Dagger?
Cloak and Dagger and Runaways are not part of the MCU as far as I know.
But they could be.
They could eventually.
That's the thing, is they could be.
Yeah.
So it's worth checking out.
Yeah.
It's just so much. And I feel like that's a series... Star Wars is like that, too. But I haven't even bothered with Star Wars.
Yeah, I have much more investment in Marvel. Moon Knight is problematic slightly in the sense that... Well, I mean, for what you're talking about, if you don't have the Marvel burnout, and you want to watch something very different and interesting, Moon Knight works.
Yeah, it is.
Ethan Hawke, we haven't even mentioned, Ethan Hawke plays Harrow, who's his antagonist throughout the series. And Harrow, I thought, was one of the more interesting villains.
It was a good series.
Yeah.
And I thought that they did it well. It was a little bit slower paced. And it could be confusing to some. Like, my mother loves the Marvel stuff, but she got confused after the first couple episodes.
It is a bit confusing. I got confused by a couple episodes. But the big thing about Moon Knight is so far it stands alone.
Yeah.
So far it introduces concepts into the MCU, but it hasn't really been tied yet to anything else. So... technically speaking, you might not need to get to it yet, but I say this, and then we'll find out Thor: Love and Thunder absolutely depends on you seeing Moonlight.
No. Thor: Love and Thunder will connect to the connect with Cloak and Dagger, and then you won't.
Probably will, yeah.
But it's one of those things. I do want to see some of it. It's just time. My time is still precious. I have less viewing time than I normally do, and that seems like it's feverishly just trying to get through stuff. And I'd rather watch stuff to enjoy it, not to, I've got to keep going. I got to get through this. I got to get through that. I got to get through this. I got to get through this. Binge watch. Do it quickly. But Moon Knight was okay. There's one thing that I will give these Marvel series, the new ones, they are blessedly short.
Yeah.
So I can move through them.
Yeah. They're calling each one Season 1. They have most of them. They've been pretty coy about whether they actually will have more seasons. But
Loki's the one I know they're the strongest on saying they'll have a second one.
But most of them, they're pretty short. They're running them mostly about 6 episodes per. A couple of them, I think, were longer. WandaVision was longer, but that's because it was structured as a half-hour sitcom, and so they ran it for more episodes. But mostly, they've been about 6 episodes, and they run them pretty well. Yeah,
I'm taking all of your picks. Apparently, we had some parallel viewing this past month.
So what's your next one?
The King's Man.
Ah, okay.
So did you watch that one this month?
No, I watched it just about a week ago.
So you can talk about your views on it next time, and then I'll talk about my views on it this time.
Yeah.
So it's the third one in the series of Kingsman, but it's a prequel. It's about the founding, and it was fun. It was a Kingsman movie. It was not. I really don't think that any of the movies have got the magic that the first one had. The first one was kick-ass.
Oh, that was
on all cylinders. The second one was
It was kick-ass meets James Bond, basically.
Yes. And the second one was okay, but nowhere near as good as the first one, in my opinion. And the third one, I really don't feel like was as good as the second one, but only by a hair. Essentially, you've got these people who they form this special group out of the tailor shop, Kingsman, and they are trying to stop this dude who is basically trying to start a war, and it starts with World War One. And it involves a lot of World War One.
Well, basically, the way they tell it is this guy does start World War One.
Yes.
Basically.
He developed by the assassination. So, and if any of you know history, that's how it is. I'm checking on the cat that's meowing. She doesn't meow very often. She is meowing because she's got a toy. She's got a toy and she likes to meow at it because it's not playing back with her. So, I mean, that's fun. They had some fun fights in the early portion. The second portion is kind of slower. But, something happens that you knew was going to happen, and boom, it all happened. It's like I say, it's not as good as the first two, but does continue. I don't know if the series has much of a future. I feel like
they set up a sequel.
I feel like the second movie kind of had a ballsy way of doing it, doing what they did. I wouldn't mind seeing how the series goes in the modern sense,
right?
But they kind of screwed that over in the second film for the most part. They'd have to start from scratch. So maybe this is how they plan on doing it.
They definitely set up a sequel with this one with their end credits scene, but I'll talk about it more next month.
It's a contender for Versus Awards.
It is in multiple categories. You mentioned the fight scene. I think the fight choreography was brilliant, and so I guess the best award we have for that would probably be stunt work. But
Oh yeah.
So speaking of Versus Awards contenders,
there's a lot of them.
I know. I know I've already talked about this, but I got a chance to watch my copy, which meant rewatching and showing at least one other person who hopefully will vote. And I know that we're not supposed to talk about Bruno, but I did watch Encanto again.
Such a good movie.
It is such a good movie, and yes, We Don't Talk About Bruno is a leading contender for original song, but there are multiple strong contenders for original song in the movie. It is a strong contender for several categories, including some of our new ones like production design and animation and character design and animation. Like one thing that I've seen pointed out is that Mirabelle's outfit does include nods to every member of her family, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And that would definitely fall under character design. But anyway, solid film, well worth a watch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you really want to know what Encanto is about, it's not hard.
It's about family. I mean, really,
yeah,
that's what it is.
So, another contender for the verse, there's going to be a lot of those. Like I say, I was trying to do some last-minute homework before, because I had to end mine in June, because I have to do my nominees to show as basically examples. Mm-hmm. So... Wrong Turn, the remake. Actually, I liked it. I thought it was really well done for a horror movie. It's about this group of people who are hiking, and instead of sticking to the trails like they should, they're told don't go off the trail, so what do? They go off the trail.
As you do.
And they discover this group of people that have kind of split off from the United States and are living in their own community in the woods. And I will leave it at that. It has a lot of it has some similarities to Wrong Turn on the surface, but has nothing to do with it if you go even like a centimeter below. It's not got deformed hillbillies. It's not got incestuous rape scenes. It's not got gratuitous torture scenes except for that one part, but that's kind of more of a punishment scene than it is like a gratuitous torture scene for the heck of it. It's Wrong Turn, the original series, has a lot more in common with Hills Have Eyes. This one is far more of a different movie than that. It's so I think if you could watch, I'd say if there's anything in the series you could watch, this one would be watchable for you.
Well, I guess given the way things are looking, I may end up being a Versus Award nominee.
If it's a nominee, you might
have to watch it. Yeah.
It's actually not. I think you could take most of it. There's like one part where they like burn a person's eyes out, but they don't really show it, so to speak. So it's not so bad. Like I say, in the original Wrong Turn series...
That's one of my trigger things, though.
In the original Wrong Turn series, they would have shown it.
Yeah, the original... Fuck that series. No, pardon my French. I only saw the first movie. I will admit this. Eliza Dushku makes most things easier to watch. But I don't know. I never bothered with the sequels because I hated the first one so much. Now, I will admit... I saw that when I was in college.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch that kind of stuff back then.
You built up a little bit more.
I've built up a tolerance.
I think you could probably deal with the first Wrong Turn.
I could deal with it then. I just hated it.
Some of the sequels might give you a problem, but really and truly, most of them I think are watchable.
I have a feeling that if I were to go back and rewatch it, I would...
Second chances.
I would probably not hate it as much. I'd probably go, oh, well, this is probably...
I've seen worse.
I've seen worse, yes.
Seen Buddy the Killer Thing.
Yes.
Actually, I didn't watch Salo, so...
No, I guess lucky. I lucked out on that. But, I mean, I made it through Devil's Rejects, and I actually kind of liked parts of it. That chicken farmer was just great. So, speaking of remakes of horror movies...
The Chicken Farmers.
I actually kicked off my 2022 viewing, strangely enough. Kicked off my 2022 viewing with the 2022 version of Scream, which I think they call it a Legacy sequel, where they went back and went with the original title, which really, that kind of pisses me. And okay, I guess Wrong Turn is one of those too, I guess.
Wrong Turn definitely is a different animal, though. I'll give it that.
But same basic concept.
Scream is a sequel.
Yeah, well, Scream is a sequel.
Yeah, this one's a sequel.
But at the same time, it is also a different turn for the series.
Yeah.
A lot of, well, I can't really get too far into it without spoilers, and I'd rather not. There was one moment in the film that A, I freaking hated, but B, I was like, holy crap, they went there.
Yeah.
So that, okay, I gave them props for it. I did think Scream I can still say after 5 films, Scream is my go-to horror franchise, partly because I enjoy it more than most, but it's actually a solid series. Yeah. There has not been a bad installment. There have been a couple that were a little weaker, but there has not been a bad installment. And this was actually probably stronger than the 3rd and 4th ones.
I feel like they took a lot. They learned some of the lessons that they had from 4, and they built on that for this one.
Right.
I still need to get that one. It's a good film.
I still kind of say. I mean, I was shocked that they made another one.
They're fun.
They are fun. But this really should be the last Scream. Like, if they do make another one...
It's not going to be.
Yeah, I know. But I do think if they make another one, it's going to center on the new Survivor girl. I mean, and that's as it should be. Just like they will eventually be another Toy Story movie, but it won't be a Woody Buzz movie.
Yeah.
But there's another one coming.
Well, it could be. It would just be... It's just weird.
Yeah. But, it was a good movie. It was a good movie to kick off my 2022 awards. It was weird that for a hot minute there, it had over 20 nominations. But as it is right now, I still only have 5 movies. All of them but Scream still have over 20 nominations. And Scream, I think, has like 18. So, we'll get there eventually where it starts getting whittled down a little bit.
So, another potential versus awards contender for 2021. Sharks in the Corn. I'm just going to go through this quickly because we have
like Stephen Kang's Sharks.
Because we got 18 minutes. So, Sharks in the Corn, it's about what you think about. It's about sharks in a cornfield. And they kill people, as sharks do, in a cornfield. Because as a nature person, as you know, that is the shark's natural environment, the cornfield.
Yes.
And they're not going to
go and spook the natural habitat of sharks.
And there is a shark cult that's going around killing people because they want to make a human-shark hybrid murder machine. And of course, the mayor of the town does not want to close the cornfields because it's the best cornfield season. And that's pretty much Sharks in the Corn. It's okay. It's overly long, but it promises what it delivers on its promise, which is more than what I can say for other movies.
Is that one I would like?
I think you'd find it entertaining. It might be overly long for you, but I think you'd find it.
How long is it?
I think it's like 2 hours and something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's longer than it should be.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, and why don't I hit another one?
Go for it.
I went ahead and watched the Shackled Demon Project again, many times. Many times because I'm putting it out as a official physical release. I am almost to all the copies. I've got a couple more to do, like maybe 5, and then once I've got that, I've got to just test them, cut the covers. I got to get the Blu-ray, the little Blu-ray cases. I still don't have all of those, and then once they're shipped out, they'll be ready to sail probably mid-July. But Shackled Demon Project's about these 2 kids who are kind of doing a paranormal investigation documentary because there's some weird stuff going on in their house, or this one of their two's house, and it's it turns out to be this evil shackled demon, and they've got to escape a lot of the hauntings and eventual potential death that awaits. You should check it out. It's going to be available video on demand and Blu-ray late this summer.
Okay. And that'll be a 2022 release officially?
In theory, but it's already been released once earlier on under the name Shackle Demon Project, but this is a new cut of the film, so to speak, a new cut of the film.
Okay.
But it's been released in other forms.
Okay. All right. Well, another 2021 contender is the film Respect, which stars Jennifer Hudson as Aretha Franklin.
Pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty good. I mean, they essentially were going for a biopic of, it's one of those ones every now and then you see someone, you think that if someone else is going to do a biopic, that this is the person that's going to be that person. And Jennifer Hudson for a long time had been kind of positioned as, she's going to play Aretha one day. And she certainly, I believe she had Aretha's blessing for that. Aretha Franklin, of course, known as the Queen of Soul, and had a phenomenal music legacy behind her. Hudson does a more than adequate job of doing the musical portions, but also the acting. She is a solid actress. Forrest Whitaker plays her preacher father, and he did a very solid job. The acting overall is solid. The music is solid. It is a strong contender for use of music in film, and at least a modest contender for the acting. It could have been a better film, and the film kind of did sink without much buzz once it came out. But it definitely is good. It's worth a look, especially if you're a fan of Aretha Franklin or of soul and R&B music generally. It'd be good, worth a look.
Well, I finally watched, to try and get the extra animation stuff, Sailor Moon Eternal Part 1 and 2, which covers the, it's basically the Crystal series, which is the kind of redo to be more accurate to the manga. Art style more accurate to the manga, and in general, the animation is beautiful. It's gorgeous. And it covers the Super S one, which is the Dark Moon Circus, where this evil circus comes to town, and there is a unicorn that keeps calling to Chibi Moon. I would say Pegasus that keeps calling Chibi Moon, and she has to figure out where he's trapped and what this sinister circus wants to do. It's a pretty cool rendition of it. I think the two movies cover it well. I mean, the series, Super S, had a lot of filler. Like all Sailor Moon or the original series, a lot of filler. But I think it covered it well, covered the characters well, and a lot more respectfully, I think, than the original anime did, at least the American dub of it. So it's worth a watch. If you like Sailor Moon and you're a big fan of the manga, this would probably be a fun watch for you.
All right. Now, speaking of all those Marvel projects, the start of June saw the release of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and I had not seen all that many of the shows prior to that. I believe in April I managed to knock out The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But May, we already talked about Moon Knight, which was airing during May. But I also went back to watch a couple of the others. And one that I finished a couple weeks into the month was Wanda Vision, which I had always heard so much about, and I wanted to see it, and I just hadn't gotten around to it. And we didn't have Disney Plus until recently, because I refused to pay for it. But luckily my brother went ahead. I like the conceit of WandaVision. I love the way how most of the episodes perfectly encapsulate a decade of television. Like, I think it starts with 50s, you got 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and the aughts. And they perfectly spoof that style of what would, I guess, be considered the dominant sitcom style for that decade. They do a brilliant job of updating each episode that way. And Elizabeth Olsen continues to show that she's a pretty solid actress. Wanda Maximoff is a very complicated character. Paul Bettany looked like he was having a lot of fun playing Vision in this one. And just generally, and you got Jennifer Hahn, I believe is the name that plays Agatha. She's an interesting character. Overall, I liked the random connections to other MCU, like bringing back Kat Dennings from Thor. I loved that. I loved her character. And they brought in Monica Rambeau, can't remember the actress, brought her in from Captain Marvel. And they brought in the dude that plays the agent keeping Scott Lang in line in Ant-Man. So some really random tie-ins to the other movies there. It was a good show. I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I finally saw it.
Probably one of the ones, I'd say, other than that Spider-Man, one of the ones that's definitely a must-watch before Multiverse of Madness.
You have to watch that before Multiverse of Madness. It ties directly into it. Sets it right up.
Well, speaking of a multiverse of sorts, I finally saw Kong Skull Island.
Ah.
Because I wanted to finally see I believe this was a contender for 2021, Godzilla vs. King Kong. So I saw both of those back to back.
Cool.
I really liked Kong Skull Island.
Yeah,
it was done very
good
well. I think that Peter Jackson's King Kong was a better telling of it, but it was a good one. But this one felt really well within that universe. And then I agree. Godzilla vs. King Kong was a masterpiece of visual artistry. And it did have some pretty cool effects, but I don't think it was as strong as a lot of the other contenders that year. But it was fun. But we needed more of let them fight. We needed more of that.
See, yeah, I honestly felt that movie they were trying to do too much. It felt overstuffed.
It was a good fight between Kong and Godzilla, though. And it looked good. Like I say, I don't have a lot to say on it otherwise. I did think it was a pretty movie.
Cool.
I don't know whether I even nominated it.
I don't think you did.
But
strangely,
there were other things I thought were better.
Huh.
There you go. That's
okay. And then my further prep for Doctor Strange was Loki, which I had watched the first couple of episodes already, and I'd seen bits and pieces after that. But again, when my brother's, mainly one of them, when he decides to watch something, so he sped through Loki in like 2 days. I didn't have a chance. But for me it is, my time. But I got to finally watch it myself, and it's a good show. Tom Hiddleston is a good Loki, and he's the one everyone loves. I always like Owen Wilson. Overall, it's a fun show. I loved when Richard E. Grant showed up as one of the Lokis. I thought he was a great addition.
An alligator Loki.
Alligator Loki. Everyone loves alligator Loki. Good show. I'm sure it'll probably be more important to Thor: Love and Thunder than it ended up being to.
I think it will. I saw Conjuring 3.
Nice.
It was better than Conjuring 2.
Nice.
Trying to think if there was anything I remember from it. It was okay. I remember that it was. I remember now. It was about this guy who got cursed and possessed and was killing people because of it, and them trying to hunt down this kind of witch and contract Satan stuff. And it was actually, like I said, it was a lot easier to follow. Not as good as the first one, but none of those in the universe are. And it was okay. I thought it was okay.
Cool.
I saw an anime series, an anime.
Okay.
Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro.
Nice.
Which is a one that got a lot of memes for a while. She was the waifu for a while until the next waifu came around, like they do. And it was a good series. I thought I was going to dislike it because it really does start off like I would dislike it, because the guy is just trying to mind his own business and she just starts getting in his face and screwing with him. Even though she is his junior, she knows that she can push his buttons, and that that actually
Pushes his buttons.
makes her happy. And so, but they eventually do get closer and closer as the series goes. Eventually, you find out that a lot of the toying that she's doing with him, she doesn't do that with other people. It's just that, that whole she likes him, so she's bullying him thing. I still am kind of mixed on it. It was good, but I'm still mixed in my feelings with that one.
Good deal. We'll get to that eventually.
All right.
So my last few are all going to be 2021, theoretically 2021 contenders. And the next one was a huge part of the Oscars conversation. And I was really happy to finally get a chance to watch Kenneth Branagh's love letter to his childhood, which is, well, not really love letter, but just homage, I guess you could say, to his childhood, Belfast, which is gorgeously shot in black and white. Does have some really unusual camera angles, but it features really solid performances, some much talked about performances, Oscar-nominated performances by Karen Hines and Judi Dench as his grandparents, but his mother is played by Catriona Balfe, and she did I probably mispronounced that sadly, but she did a great job. Even though I'm kind of upset right now with Van Morrison with some of the bullshit he's been shoveling regarding COVID and vaccines and stuff, his song Down to Joy is a kick-ass song. It's one of the best ones he's done. It was an Oscar nominee for original song. It is a Versus Award contender, or I like to think it is. But overall, yeah, Belfast was a good, solid film. It was a history-making film. Kenneth Branagh is now the only person who's been nominated for Oscars in 7 different categories. So that's pretty impressive. So, yeah.
So I saw a Full Moon movie that was contender for the Versus Awards. It's called Resonator. And it is similar to a movie called From Beyond. Essentially, they form this resonator. It connects to a different world, very Lovecraftian world. And the creatures on the other side are not too friendly. That's about all I'm going to say about that. I also saw a terrible rendition of Night of the Living Dead called Night of the Animated Dead, which is a terribly animated version of Night of the Living Dead.
Did you talk about that one?
No, but I went to Resonator because I was trying to remember it. And I'll go ahead and hit this one because I really need to. We need to wrap up soon. I saw one of the newest Evan Jacobs films, taking a COVID test. It's essentially he's taking a COVID test. But it kind of helps you relive that own experience yourself, because we've all, a lot of us in the early days, had to either wait in line for a test or the vaccine or something, where we're all like in this field and we all have the cars and we're waiting on our next name to be called. So it makes sense.
All right. So, another one that should have been up for some Oscars, according to a lot of people, but got left out. We actually had a pair of Ridley Scott films at the end of the year that got largely overlooked. I still need to see House of Gucci, but the other one was The Last Duel, which was a very interesting medieval set film, which stars Matt Damon as a local lord, who is, or a squire rather, who the local head of the his lord is played by Ben Affleck, and he has there's a mutual acquaintance of theirs who's played by Adam Driver, and then of course Damon somehow finds himself married to a phenomenal young woman played by Jodie Comer, and things happen which pits Damon and Driver against each other in a duel to the death. And you get it's split into 3 chapters. You hear his story, Driver's story, and then Comer's story. So it's kind of a Rashomon type structure. It's a really good movie, really interesting, and it's a shame it didn't get more love.
I'm going to throw these last two out, and that'll end me, and then you can finish up yours after that. I saw Belle. Belle's an excellent movie. Also a contender for Best Animated Feature about this young girl. Has a terrible accident that ruins her confidence in her own singing. Mother has a terrible accident, but yes, and she ends up finding a new life through this another version of the world. Seems like this director likes those types of things, because we had this. They should have just used Oz from Summer Wars. Tell you the truth, it would have covered about the same thing.
Yeah,
and but she becomes very a big idol there, and then people trying to find out who she is, and it's got a couple of things. I think it covers too many pots. It tries to cover too many things, but it is still very good and worth watching. I also did Horror Tales 666 Part 1, but I also did a deep dive into it, so you should check that out instead of what I have to say, which is it's a fairly decent older anthology film directed by Phil Herman.
All right. And so I've got 3 left, and I'll again all 2021 potential contenders. I saw a short film called E.T. and the Hooker Go to Space. The title is the best thing about it, so let's just skip it. Then there was a documentary called The Real Charlie Chaplin, which you can guess what that's about. It's actually a really good doc. It does a really good job talking about Chaplin through the years. It covers his filmography pretty well. Covers his ups and downs in the industry, his basically being blacklisted later in life, etc., etc. And then the last one that I'm going to go out with a bang, a film that should have been a much bigger part of the awards show this year, which is the new Wes Anderson movie, The French Dispatch of the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun.
I still haven't seen
which is essentially it's essentially an anthology film that's structured around a curiosity local interest section of a paper, but the local interest is about France, but the paper is actually in Kansas, so it's really weird. But Bill Murray is the editor who brought this thing about, and it kind of centers around his character dies, and everyone kind of gets together and talks about, what's going to happen with the paper and all this stuff. But you also get vignettes that show different people, different aspects of the paper. You got one with Owen Wilson as the main character, one with Frances McDormand as the main character. You got a couple other. It's a huge cast, phenomenal cast. Wes Anderson can bring them in nowadays. Yeah. Beautiful score by Alexandre Desplat. Wonderful production design. You see a Wes Anderson film, within 10 seconds you're watching a Wes Anderson film. But it's a good, solid film. It should have gotten more love than it did.
I need to watch it.
You do.
I do.
You do.
And maybe if it's nominated, I'll have an excuse.
I'm hoping it will be.
I never got to it. I have to watch it through streaming because now I know it's a film that's going to get a Criterion release.
Yeah.
So why am I going to wait? Why am I going to buy that one when I know it's going to be Criterion
See,
released?
I got it from the library, so I didn't have to run into that problem.
So, that's gonna be that.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. Mm-hmm. Well, with that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, click that like button, hit that subscribe and share.
Yep.
And it's going to be funny because in about a week or so, actually 2 weeks, we're going to be doing this again for June.
Yeah, but we'll have a lot more to talk about then, because I was doing some hardcore versus award viewing this month. Oh, and I also meant to mention, just for shits and giggles, that I finished a manga in May, which was Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
So that was nice to get that one finished off. And finally, I know a little bit about what all the buzz is about.
It's about the animation
Still haven't
quality.
seen the show.
It's about the animation quality, from what people tell me. But with that being said, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.